What is up, guys? Teddy Cornwell here. Welcome to the Underdog Talk, the most underrated podcast on earth. And there's something about, but you guys see me smiling, and you see him, the one and only Dr. Jim Stoppani, who is a renowned fitness expert, author, and entrepreneur who has dedicated his life to helping people achieve their fitness goals, mine included, with a PhD in exercise psychology, and a wealth of experience in the fitness industry. I mean, this man has become a trusted source of information for millions. The man behind the number one supplement company out there, Jim Supplements. And I just got to say, he's also authored numerous books, created popular workout programs, which many of you guys have used on the Underdog Talk. I mean, one more time, Dr. Jim Stoppani. How are you doing today, man?
I'm awesome, Teddy. Thank you again. Appreciate being here. Appreciate
And,
the invitation to be here.
and Underdog Talk. Jim Stoppani, 6 years ago, sent me this picture right there, signed. It's been in my room since then. So that just shows how much I think about Dr. Jim now. Dr. Jim, I want to take it back because, we had Mike McErline on the podcast, your co-partner, and he talked about kind of how you got into the fitness industry. But can you tell us about your background and how you got started into the fitness industry, sir?
Oh yeah, it's pretty extensive. I've been training since I was single digits, 7 years old. My dad, my grandfather, his father, who died before I was born, was a professional boxer before he had to give up his dreams to raise a family and became a mason. But he taught my father the importance of exercise and proper nutrition and staying fit. And so my father who was a U.S. Marine Corps boxer as well, martial artist, built his own gym down in our basement when I grew up in Torrington, Connecticut. And so I wanted to hang out with my dad, so I would go down there and work out, and he would adapt a lot of the things so that I could use them. And then I just loved it. So it went beyond just wanting to hang out with my dad. Even when he wasn't down there, I was training. My buddies in the neighborhood. And when I graduated high school, this is 1986, to take it back a while for you guys, I knew I wanted to do something with exercise, but I grew up in a small blue collar town, Torrington, Connecticut. And so, my advisors, really couldn't open my eyes to things like that. There was a world called exercise science out there. And even in 1986, the world of exercise science really was just about aerobics back then. Nobody was really studying, weight training and whatnot. So I went to a University of Connecticut to get a degree in athletic training, which is basically sports medicine. I thought maybe I'll go become an orthopedist and work with athletes. But while I was an undergrad, one of the courses that I had to take was called exercise physiology. And they started talking about weight training and testosterone and growth hormone production. And I was just like, wait a minute. You guys are studying this right here. And my advisor at the time, many of you may not know this name because you're not in academia, but was Bill Kramer. And this was before he was renowned. And he's the one who really started the real science of weight training. Those were the things that he was looking at in the lab. And so, I ended up switching majors over to exercise physiology from athletic. I actually graduated an athletic trainer's degree, but then I went on to study biomechanics at Auburn University as a grad student. And when I say study weight training biomechanics, I'm not just talking about looking at college age students. We actually had Bill Kazmaier, was the world's strongest man at the time. This may go way far back to most of the listeners here, but he was the world's strongest man, and he had a gym in Auburn. And he would come into the lab, and we would study literally the world's strongest man on biomechanics in the gym. And so I left Auburn, though there was a bunch of politics there. Their strength lab, and this is back in 1990. Their they were one of the most renowned weight training and exercise physiology labs in the world back then. But our politics with academia as well, it's everywhere. And so a lot of the exercise researchers went different ways, and one of them went to Georgia Southern University. So I followed over there, and actually that's where I started studying not just exercise physiology, but exercise nutrition. I was looking at in 1990 medium chain triglycerides, which, with coconut oil is a big thing now, but this is back in 1990. So I was interested in what advantages that could provide there. And then I ended up going back to the University of Connecticut to get my PhD in exercise physiology with a minor in biochemistry. I was actually doing two majors at the time, biochemistry and exercise physiology, because I knew the physiology, the way the body works, is also very dependent on the biochemistry of the body. And so I wanted to make sure I was able to understand both those worlds. So my advisor, Carl Marish, at the time allowed me to get a double major. However, my advisor in the biochemistry department died of a massive heart attack out on a run. He had hereditary, his father died of the same thing. And there was really no one who could take me on under their wing in the biochemistry department with the things that I wanted to study, as far as exercise, gluconeogenesis, and those sorts of things. So I ended up with a minor in biochemistry. And then after my doctoral work, I went on to Yale University School of Medicine in the Department of Cellular and Molecular Physiology to study the way that exercise and nutrition affect your genes. I was a research, like I said, a research fellow there, doing research, trying to get funding. And I started writing articles for Muscle and Fitness just out of the blue. This is what I grew up reading as a kid. And that's really what sort of piqued my interest in the exercise science world, because at the time, Joe Weider, for those of you who know who Joe Weider was, he was having articles about muscle type in the magazine. And again, this was just, filling my head with all kinds of knowledge and things that I could do to help myself, to help my buddies who, I raced motocross, I played baseball, could help in sports. And so I literally just cold sent them a couple of my articles, taking some of the research that I was doing and how it could help people in the gym, and they loved it. So I continued writing for them, and then they offered me a position as the science editor. And I flew out to meet Joe, and we struck a deal. And then I had to tell everybody in academia that I was leaving the research world to go work for a bunch of magazines. Right now, again, for us, for someone like me, for you, these are the magazines. This was the world that I wanted to get in. For all my colleagues at Yale, they were just like, "You're gonna go do what? Why are you throwing your career away? You're a award-winning young scientist here. You've got a huge future here at Yale." And I said, "Oh, believe me, I realize that. But while I'm studying genes and all these things, there's all this research going on creatine, and I don't have the time to even really look at it because I've got to get funding. I've got to do my own research, and I'm missing out on what my real passion is." And so, I left academia. Much to everyone's surprise, but I knew what was ahead of me, and became the science editor for Muscle and Fitness. And that's really where I got my audience. I started my audience because I was teaching them how to train, how to eat, what supplements to take, and then social media sort of came out, and the website, because when I started Muscle and Fitness, remember this was around 2001, right? So, there really wasn't social media at the time. There was starting to be YouTube right around that time, and then Facebook. And so I saw the value in that, and started doing videos there. And that's where I met my business partner, Mike McElwain. And, he really opened my eyes to the digital world, because I grew up reading magazines and books. That was sort of my world. I am not a computer geek by any means. That my expertise is in the human physiology and biochemistry and biology. And Mike really opened my eyes to ways to get, my information out there. And so we started a website, jimstoppani.com. And like I said, he got me posting on Facebook, on YouTube, and then Twitter came out. And again, back in that time, I was just using that because I wanted to help people. It was a great way to answer people's questions about how to take creatine. Well, what kind of protein should you use? And the audience really loved my information, and that's really how I built the audience. And then bodybuilding.com got big. They wanted me to do a trainer, which was the first one I did was shortcut the size, and that blew up.
Yeah.
Million, literally million people always question the numbers when I say millions of people, and they're like, come on, it's not. And like, no, they have the numbers. Bodybuilding.com was literally the place to go at one time. And literally millions of people have not only just done shortcut the size, but have, gotten unreal results. And so those people who've done my programs, got my advice, they would reach out to me and tell me, geez, I wanted to grow muscle. You gave me a program. It worked. I wanted to lose fat. You gave me a program that worked. I wanted to try this supplement. I tried that. It worked. So, it was the trust the, that the audience had, because not, I'm telling them you should listen to me because I have a PhD, but it's the actual them taking that advice, trying it at home or in the gym, and then seeing the results. And really, that's how I built this brand.
And shout out Mike, obviously, who brings so much to the table. And now we had Chris Gethin on the podcast, and I'm trying to think. You and him were two of the main guys behind
Yeah,
bodybuilding.com.
Chris did the very first digital, online trainer. I can't remember what his was called, but bodybuilding.com did that. And they had such a huge success that they wanted to do more. And so I was, like I said, I was a senior science editor at Muscle and Fitness. So they reached out to me, and everybody thinks I got paid. And it's, that was a freebie that I all those programs were free because they were offering it free as well. My mic is sort of going in and out. I'm not sure. Can you hear me okay,
I can
Teddy?
hear you. Yep, I can
Sorry,
hear you.
guys. I just want to make sure I'm not hearing it
Oh,
myself every
I
once in
hear
a
you
while.
clearly, Jim.
Okay, great. Thank you. So that was, that was a free program that we put out. And, like a lot, and, people would tell me, I can't believe you would do that for free. And I'm like, well, no, this is, I want to make sure people have access to this information. And so that's, that was the deal that we had at bodybuilding.com. And that's long before the gym supplement line. The supplements didn't come until, everybody started asking me, well, why don't you just make your own? You're telling me what to take. You're telling me to take this much creatine, this much beta alanine, before you work out. Why don't you just make your own? And so we finally decided, Mike and I decided, well, let's do that. Um, and that was the start of Gym Supplement Science, but that was until 2013, 10 years ago. So
And then booming at GNC, and obviously the blends, the
sorry,
formula.
Teddy, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I could hear you talking, but I can't. It's not loud enough.
Well, I mean, let me see. Yeah, we'll just edit that part. Yeah. Maybe I'll speak a little louder. Obviously, it took off at GNC. Do you think GNC was a big part in bodybuilding.com in helping get the gym name out there?
Yeah, right. So we launched first at bodybuilding.com as an exclusive. It was a 3-year exclusive deal. And again, getting into like politics, like I said, in academia. So we had a 3-year deal with bodybuilding.com to be exclusive there. And, obviously we wanted to expand. Let's switch headphones for 1 second. All right. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, so we started at bodybuilding.com as an exclusive deal. And like I said, obviously we wanted to eventually expand to, make sure that it was available everywhere. But bodybuilding.com made sense to start it because that's where I grew such a big audience. And it was a nice platform because I could educate people on, how to take supplements, how to train. And, those things go hand in hand. You can't just take a supplement and expect results unless you're training and your nutrition is proper. So I really love that platform. And it's a little sad today that those sorts of platforms are no longer available with social media. Now everybody wants quick. And so no, people don't take the time to really listen and think about it. But anyway, so a little history here on politics. So the gym supplement line grew so fast at bodybuilding.com overnight that it was making so much money that when bodybuilding.com was getting to sell their company, the the prospective buyers would look and say, well, what is this? It was $100 million in revenue over here, and they're from Gym Supplement Science alone, right? And they're saying, what is this? And so bodybuilding.com said, well, we own that, and they didn't. So if anybody here remembers the big big debate of who owned Gym Supplement Science, um, again, it was just supposed to be, it was my business and Mike, our business solely, that we decided to do exclusively with bodybuilding.com. Because they had potential buyers, they told them that they owned that because that would, extend their worth and what they could sell the company for by, many, many millions, right? So they literally lied to say that they owned the company. And then they would call and email saying, we've done really a lot to help your brand. Don't you think you should hand it over to us? And we were just like, what? Are you crazy? Why would we hand this over to you? Right. So they literally sued us. And we're like, well, bring it on, because, when, you could lie all you want, uh, to, potential buyers and whatnot. But once, the court sees who actually owns the brand, which we owned, there's no debating who owned the brand once they see it. And so they thought that they would just overrun us with legal fees, and then we would just have to sort of give it over to them. But yeah, believe it or not, this is a true story. And so Mike and I, held out. Yes, the legal fees were very, very expensive, and could have ruined us. But when bodybuilding.com realized that we weren't giving it over to them, they finally had to drop the lawsuit. And so anybody back then debating, geez, who owned gym was a bodybuilding.com. Well, who owns it now? You can see, right? We've owned it all this time. But anyway, so yeah, and one of the issues they had was they didn't want us to sell it anywhere else. They wanted to have it exclusively sold there. And so when we were exclusive, we would have GNC coming to us, Vitamin Shop, even Walmart, and all these other retailers coming to us and saying, we'd really love to sell your product. And we're like, look, you got to wait till the exclusivity deal was over. And so when they were suing us, suddenly, Mike and I had to take it somewhere else, because not only was bodybuilding.com suing us, but they were not paying us from the sales that they were making on Gym Supplement Science. They literally stopped paying us while they were claiming that they owned it, right? So we had to sell it somewhere, and GNC was kind enough to literally take a risk, because bodybuilding.com threatened to sue them, but GNC trusted us, and that we actually owned it, and this is all BS. And so they took us on, taking a huge risk on us. And so that was sort of the second life of Gym Supplement Science, was at GNC. And so that, took off as well. And now we had an exclusive brick and mortar with GNC, but now that's over. So now we're at Vitamin Shop. We have our own direct-to-consumer website, jimsups.com, as well. And, we sell through other shops on top of that.
And honestly, Jim Supplements is still taking over. Obviously, we had Milos on the podcast, and now he's a gym athlete. Just it's almost like the gym brand keeps expanding at Vitamin Shop now, exclusives, at bodybuilding.com with some flavors still. Do you have any exciting products or works that you can share with us that's coming up for
Oh, so many that I can't talk about though, that are
I
really exciting. We have ones that I can't talk about. We have a probiotic coming out, which is very critical, not just for gut health, but for overall health, for muscle building, everything. It really starts right there in the gut. So we're finally able to have that. And then for those of you who know, I'm a big firm believer in on your micronutrients, not taking a multivitamin that has everything in it, because there's a lot of competition. Calcium competes with magnesium and zinc, which is why I have a ZMA separate product, and so a lot of people think that ZMA is a test booster, but it's like, well, sure, it might help your testosterone. But really the critical thing about ZMA is you're getting zinc and magnesium at a time that's separate from your other micronutrients, which is why Vitagym, my multivitamin, doesn't have any calcium, doesn't have any magnesium, doesn't have any zinc, doesn't have any vitamin D. So I have a vitamin D product that's a combo of vitamin D and vitamin K2, because those work so well together to enhance calcium uptake and utilization and prevent it from being stored in the arteries. So that's another thing. Then we're working on an energy drink. I can't tell you more, but it's not your typical energy drink. So yeah, so look for that as well. And we've got a numerous working on. I don't know if you remember the gym bar that
yes.
came. Yeah. So one of the issues is that my expectations in the quality that I want to bring to, the like I said, the reason that we started Gym Supplement Science is because the consumers were asking. And, when I was at Muscle and Fitness, I had to review supplements as part of being the science editor. And many people don't remember this, but there was a time when supplement manufacturers were telling people that they had a 3 or 5 gram serving size of a pre-workout,
Mm-hmm.
3 to 5 grams, and they would tell people, well, it's concentrated. And I'm just like, wow, they've stooped to a new low. Your supplement, like if you're talking about an amino acid like leucine, well, the leucine that you put in any supplement is already concentrated to its purest form. You can't concentrate it anymore. And so they were just outright lying, and literally just putting a ton of stimulants in these products and telling people, this is what you need because it's concentrated. And so, and then there was protein spiking. I don't know if many people remember that. One of the the ways that they measure protein content is by nitrogen content, right? And so if you put in amino acids, and I'm talking about amino acids that are not involved in muscle building, like taurine, right?
Yeah.
Which it's a fine supplement. I've got that in pre-gym and post-gym, right? It helps with energy production. However, if you're putting it in your protein powder, you're only doing it to raise the nitrogen content. And taurine isn't used as a muscle building amino acid. It's a functional amino acid, right? And so, that was going on at the time that I was at Muscle and Fitness. And, there was no products that I would take myself. I was taking single ingredients that I would get, from reputable suppliers, because I didn't trust what was in the supplements. You couldn't trust what was on the label. People not only were spiking, they were not only claiming that things were concentrated, but they were literally outright lying, like protein bars. You would find out, oh, it's got 20 grams of protein. Then somebody would actually study it, and it had 5 grams of protein. So, they were literally outright lying. So, that was also one of the impetus that forced me to create my own brand, because when I was at the magazines, I would tell people over and over again, I worked with a lot of supplement brands and helping them create different products and whatnot. And everybody was like, why don't you make your own brand? And never, I would say, no, I'm not a businessman. That's not a supplement line isn't just about making smart supplements. And in fact, when we launched with Pre-Gym, which was over 25 grams of active ingredients, people said, you're never going to make any money. You can't make money that way by putting real doses in. There's no margin in that. And it's still difficult for us today to make money because, a lot of our competitors, their cost is a fourth of what, we may put in. And so, even brands like GNC and Vitamin Shop struggle because they don't make the same margin on our product that they can make on somebody else's, because they can sell their product to Vitamin Shop for much cheaper, and then they can mark it up for more. So I can't even remember what we originally were talking about
Well, we were just talking about how great your
at,
supplement brand is.
at this point, but um, uh, they're in some of the products that I'm coming out with. Oh, it was the bar. That's what it was. And so, the quality demands that I put in manufacturing go above and beyond, what anybody else wants. For instance, I only will use protein isolates, right? I won't use protein concentrate because protein concentrates have, it's less protein, but it's more lactose. And, 70% of adults are lactose intolerant. So, even a small amount of lactose, it can be problematic. So I won't use concentrates. I'll only use isolates to get rid of that, not only the fat, but that lactose, which is problematic. That's why people are dumbfounded when they drink Pro-Gym, my protein powder, which is a blend of whey isolate and casein, mainly isolate casein, that they don't get stomach problems because they get stomach problems from most other proteins. And I say, well, it's the quality of the protein. But when we were making that bar, the gym bar, I don't know if you remember this bar, but I would only use whey protein isolate. So most of the bar manufacturers couldn't work with us. And so we finally found one in Canada that was able, and they literally had to adjust their machinery and everything to be able to make the bar for us that had isolate. Well, COVID came, and there's shortages in sources, material, and even manpower up there. And so we had to sort of shelf that bar, but we are working on another bar. So that's what we were talking about, new products that are coming down the pipeline.
And I think, one of the big changes recently, and Mike was telling me this when we had him on over the summer, was, removing the egg from Pro Gym, because obviously you developed a reaction to that as well.
Yeah, so I developed an egg allergy, but that's really not the reason we had to remove it. You just can't get it. There's an egg shortage, and to be able to keep up with the amount of bottles of Pro-Gym that we need production, we would never be able to make enough Pro-Gym for the demand. And so we had to make the decision to take it out. Now, again, that's great news for me because now I can drink it, but it wasn't a decision to, oh, we should take this out. It was, there's a shortage. It'll hurt our supply chain. So what do? We had to take it out. But again, speaking on that scientifically, as long as you have a fast and a slow digesting protein, really, that's the real key. Obviously the egg is a medium digesting protein and sort of bridges the gap between those two, but and provides some sulfur containing amino acids. But it was 2.5 grams of egg protein in there. So it's not a massive difference without the egg.
And I like the new bag look. I think the bags are really aesthetic. I mean, it makes me want to just grab a bag and just down that thing. Now,
Yeah,
obviously,
I love the bags. And for many people who don't realize this, when we first launched Pro-Gym, it came in a bag.
really,
Yeah, believe it or not. However, at that time, this is about 10 years ago, the bag technology wasn't there. So people would get it they were ordering it from bodybuilding.com. It would show up and there'd be protein powder all over the box, all over all their other products. And then maybe they had a shirt or something too, and it'd be all over the shirt. So we had to scrap we had to scrap the bags. But as soon as we were aware that the technology has come a long way, we switched over. Personally, I love the bags because, you know, when you have it on your countertop, right, the jug takes up far more space, even if there's only one scoop left in the jug, right? It takes up the same amount of space as a full one. With the bag, as you use it, not only is the bag more, slim and streamlined and kind of just fits on your counter nicely, you can like jam it in between things, jam it in your cupboards, right? Without it like taking, but as you use it, it takes up less and less space. So, that's one of the things I love about the bag. And I just find it's far easier to get in the bag and get it out than trying to scoop your hand in a jug.
And obviously, it's almost like everything changes every day. Now, how do you stay up with the latest research and incorporate it with your programs, Dr. Jim? Because obviously, like we've talked about, everything is constantly changing, both in the world and in the supplement industry and in the exercise science side. So, how do you stay up to date on everything, sir?
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about science is it's always changing and we're always learning, you know, maybe not something necessarily new, but we learn a little more about something that we may have known about. For example, when I started at Muscle and Fitness, again, this is going back to, 2000, 2001, everybody would tell you, including nutrition scientists, exercise scientists, that you should only have whey around your workouts because casein protein would be too slow, right? You only want whey. And so, and that, and a lot of people still believe that. But then the research started coming out to show that muscle protein synthesis is actually maximized when you include not just the whey, but when you include a slow digesting protein like casein, which is why I came out with the blend, because the whey, everybody talks about how fast whey is, right? But the speed of whey is its benefit and its downfall at the same time. It's almost too fast, right? So what's great about whey is it immediately spikes muscle protein synthesis. All those amino acids get into your bloodstream within 30 minutes, if not less, right? But then in less than, 2 hours, about an hour even, they're out of the bloodstream now, and that spike drops. So when you have the casein, right, it's again slower digesting, but as the whey starts dropping, the amino acids from whey start dropping out of your blood, the amino acids from the casein are now coming in. And so when you do both a whey and a casein, like the Progen blend, you get that immediate spike, right? Because you want it to be quick. Remember, there's a lot of debate about, we can go on about the science of the anabolic window. But there's no debating that blood, when you're exercising and immediately after you exercise, blood flow going to the muscle is increased. It's the one time of day that blood flow to the muscle is increased, and the ability of those muscles to take up nutrients is increased. This is all fact. There's no debating this, right? And so you'll see, there's people saying, well, the anabolic window isn't really, what people say it is. It's not that important. Let me tell you, any professional bodybuilder, and sure, they use, anabolic steroids, but if their nutrition isn't up, those anabolic steroids aren't going to do you any good. There's not a single competitive bodybuilder, who doesn't eat around their workouts immediately after not a single one, right? And so, you, like I said, I know we're kind of going off on a rant here, but you're seeing these debates about the anabolic window. Like I said, physiologically speaking, we know there's more blood flow going to the muscle at this time, and we know the muscles are able to take up more nutrients. In fact, like just glucose, right? Most times a day, you need insulin to get glucose into the muscle. After you work out is the one time when glucose can be taken up non-independently of insulin. So when would you, right? When would you want to have your protein and carbs? 4 hours after you worked out or immediately after you worked out, right? I would go with immediately, like I said, while the blood flow is going to the muscle, there's greater blood flow. So it's delivering more of those nutrients and that muscle is able to take up more. And then, some people will say, well, there was a study that showed that people who worked out and then had a protein shake either immediately or even up to 24 hours, muscle protein synthesis was the same 24 hours. That's true. There was a study on that, but those were untrained people. Okay. That same research group then trained those same people, okay, for I can't remember how many weeks, 8 weeks or so. And the anabolic window, the ability for that protein spike, now dropped from 24 hours to 8 hours. Okay. Nobody talks about that though, right? Nobody follows up on the other research. They just look at this one study and go, oh, see, the anabolic window is bullshit. You have 24 hours to eat. And again, why would you wait that long, right? After a grueling workout, and if you've done any of my workouts, you know how you feel after a workout, right? What makes you feel better? Eating, right? What makes you feel better after a grueling workout? Getting back some carbs because you've depleted a lot of the muscle glycogen. And so eating right away is why would you, I call it a disservice for anybody who's telling athletes that they don't need to worry about getting in nutrients right after they work out. But again, if this untrained group who saw, the anabolic window lasts for 24 hours after about 8 weeks of training, it was now down to 8 hours. Okay. What does that mean for somebody who's been training for 8 years? How short is that anabolic window, right? So we don't have that data because, unfortunately, a lot of people are just like, well, why isn't there a study done? It's just like, well, research takes money and nobody cares about growing muscle. Nobody cares. Most of the research that we take from, muscle protein synthesis was done in burn victims and people with muscle wasting diseases, things that really help people. That's the research that's being done. Nobody's funding research on how to get your biceps to 18 inches. That's studies like that are few and far between. So, we don't know, how is this somebody who's been training for years, how short their anabolic window is. But like I said, we know physiologically speaking, there's more blood flow going to the muscle during a workout and immediately after, and those muscles are able to take up more nutrients immediately after. And Bob Wolf down in University of Texas Medical Branch, they've all moved on to different universities now. But back then, that was the lab that was doing most of that research on muscle protein synthesis and how fast you needed to have your protein to maximize muscle protein synthesis, was showing, you need to do it within an hour.
Well, I just like the Rocky Road Pro Gym just because of the marshmallows. I don't even think about the science. It just tastes good to me. I know I sound silly saying that, but I mean, when you have the best tasting protein out there, I just want to get it down. Now,
Yeah, it makes it easier to get, and then, my advice for protein and for anybody who wants to build muscle is to make sure you're getting at least a gram per pound of body weight.
okay.
And again, a lot of people will debate that and say, oh, there's no research or the research is mixed. And it's just like, well, there's a reason why the research is mixed. It's done with a lot of untrained people, right? With not a lot of muscle mass. For somebody who is trained and wants to build muscle, we know you need at least a gram. Even periods, you need a 1.5, even up to 2 grams, depending on the person, at specific times. Now, the reason that there's research that shows no, it doesn't matter if you eat high protein, and then there is research that shows yes, up to 1.5 grams is ideal versus 0.75 grams. The reason that the research is sort of all over the place is there was a study done that showed you needed to have what's called a big enough protein spread, meaning most of the studies comparing high protein to low protein aren't really high protein, meaning they don't go high enough to see a difference. You need to have a big enough spread, whether it's two different groups, one eating 0.5 grams and one eating at least one, or if it's, you take the same person and have them eat a low protein diet and then switch them over to high protein diet. Either way, that high protein diet needs to be a big enough of a spread from what they were originally consuming or what the low protein group to actually see a benefit. So that's why a lot of the research doesn't show a difference in high protein diets. But if you look at most of the research that's published in the International Society of Sports Nutrition's journal, they'll show you, and Dr. Joey Antonio is an author of some of these research studies, for those of you who may know that name, as he's a supplement expert as well. Well, he'll tell you, for anybody who wants to build muscle, you may need to go up to at least 1.5 grams per pound, not kilogram, per pound of body weight. And so I think the original question you asked me was, how do I keep up with the science? Because it's always changing. And, this is what I love about science is, we're learning all the time. And something that we thought we had, nailed down and known, we either learn something completely or start learning more and more, bits and pieces. For example, I tell people this all the time. We have no idea how muscle grows. Sure, we know that there's muscle breakdown, right? You destroy the cells and then you bring more satellite cells in to grow. And then we know that there's muscle protein synthesis, an increase in that. But even when you have an increase in muscle protein synthesis, there's also things called microRNAs that then break down what we've synthesized. So there's so many other parts to the equation that we have no idea about yet, that we really know very little about how muscle grows. And so that's what I find so so intriguing, that we're always learning. And so the ways that I stay up is literally PubMed research. I mean, as a research scientist, it's far easier. If everybody asks you, is there a website you go to, is there books you read? And I'm like, I don't really read that many books, because it has that person's, their bias in there. I read research studies, and even on research studies, unless you know how to do research, you have to understand the methodology. So I'll go through, and there's a lot of studies, like I said, the protein ones where it's not a big enough spread, or they're using untrained subjects, or the workout sucks. The workout that these research scientists have people doing is they go in and do 3 sets of curls, then 3 sets of leg presses, then 3 sets of bench press. I'm like, that's not a workout. That that's for a beginner, maybe that's a workout, but for the people who are following me and want to build muscle, that study doesn't mean anything, because that wasn't a hard enough workout to either stimulate muscle growth or stimulate fatigue or whatever you're looking at. And so you really have to be careful with the research, because there's no perfect research. And so, like I said, you can't just read the conclusion. You have to be able to read the methods and make sure that study was done and is applicable to the message that you're giving.
And Milos, if you are watching, we need a test subject to do a lot of research on,
Right.
sir. I mean, you have the perfect guy, elite bodybuilder. Just give him Pro Gym, see what his insulin. I mean, he would be the perfect guy, Dr. Jim. I mean, thank you so much for taking your time to come on the podcast. I do have one rapid fire question for you. Just one. Would you rather have no tattoos or no beard?
Oh, I'd rather have no beard. So
Yeah.
the beard, so for everybody who's interested, for those of you who saw me when I grew my hair back, right, I actually have hair, right? So people think I went bald from creatine. So no, creatine does not make you bald. Okay. There's research that shows it increases DHT levels, right? One study, but creatine does not make you bald. And you can probably see I actually have hair follicles growing here, but I shave my head for convenience. It's so easy, right? And so I hate body, and as a bodybuilder, right, we shave most of our body anyway. So I'm 55. Okay. And what happens after being on planet Earth with gravity sucking you down after 55 years is things start, you get that old man neck. So the only reason I have this beard is to protect you guys from having to look at old man neck. Same with the dark glasses, right? I don't think I'm cool. I'm not wearing sunglasses because I think I'm Bono. It's it's to help hide the wrinkles and and the saggy the saggy eyes. So I would rather have no beard. But again, if I was younger, I'd rather have no. And even with the tattoos, right? The tattoos, as you get older, you start getting age spots. Those, and with the tattoos, you can't see that. So it's so there's a method behind my madness. There's a reason. I'm not just crazy.
Well, I thought the glasses looked damn cool. I thought you were just rocking them as a style, and I really digged it. But I see you were disguising things, Dr. Jim, sly man. And I mean, I honestly thought you were 23 years old. So you telling me you were 55 kind of threw me off today, threw me off more than you taking it at a pro gym.
Kind, Teddy.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jim, now the floor is yours. Before we go, what is your biggest tip for someone who's looking to start their fitness journey, and then any new things that you want to plug, sir? The floor is yours.
So, starting your fitness journey, start slow and find something you like. Like it. I definitely think that everybody needs some form of resistance training, right? You need to keep your muscle mass up, especially as we start aging. And so it's not just about, oh, I've got, big muscles. It's more about quality of life, but try to find it. That's kind of why I'll say I like the CrossFit style. I don't do CrossFit. Um, uh, sure, can you get hurt doing CrossFit? Yes. But what I like about CrossFit is it opened weight training to a lot of people who would not go into a gym and do a set and sit there and do another set. They make it challenging, they make it fun with groups and whatnot. And so that is the benefit of CrossFit. I'm by no means promoting CrossFit, but I'm just saying find something that you like. And because the most critical thing is to be consistent with your exercise program. And so if you hate going in and doing, like I said, the typical 3 sets of 10, right, with a rest period, right? Find a different way. Do circuits. You can do Tabatas with weights, or find something else like sandbag training, boot camp, something that's going to keep you engaged and keep you consistent. And then the other thing I'll say is don't only look at your workout program. You need to stay active throughout the day. That is the biggest the biggest myth, is that people think that they can go to the gym and work out for an hour or even 2 hours and then spend the rest of the day sitting at their desk in the office and go home sitting on their butt watching TV. And there's actual research showing that people who train the same, and they broke them up into the group that watched, more than an hour or so. I can't remember the details exactly of TV, and those who didn't. Those who watched more TV, even though they worked out the same as the other group, they had higher blood pressure, higher blood glucose, and they were fatter around the waist. So, that's why I have what I call my 30-60 rule. So every 30 minutes that you're just sitting, you should get up and do at least 60 seconds of some activity. It could be stretching, it could be running in place, jumping jacks, push-ups, but you need to be active throughout the day. When we sit for longer than 30 minutes, why is it 30-60 rule? The genes that control things like glucose regulation, fat burning, literally shut off, because our bodies are not designed. We did not evolve enough to be sitting around. So the only times that the human body should be idle is sleeping. Okay. The rest of the time, our bodies still think that we're in survival mode. We're running from predators. We're looking for prey so that we can eat. it's an all day survival thing. But now with technology, we don't no longer need that, right? We can wake up and have a bowl of cereal within 2 minutes of waking up. We haven't gone beyond, our bodies have not evolved beyond waking up and now having to hunt for whatever food you're going to consume. So it's critical that you find a way to increase your daily activity. And that doesn't mean working out in the gym more. Yes, you still want to do that, but you want to think of your workout as um, as an athlete, right? An athlete in life, if you're not a competitor, right? That's helping you perform better, have higher quality of life, but you still need the activity throughout the day. Don't take the elevator, escalator, take the stairs. Don't try to get the closest spot at the grocery store. Try to get the farthest spot so that you can get some more activity. And then, like I said, use that 30-60 rule, where every 30 minutes you're sitting idle at your desk or wherever at TV. Get up and do, like I said, any activity for at least 60 seconds, and it'll make a world of difference.
My girlfriend is going to hate me when I park all the way back. And ladies and gentlemen, the best part is I don't have a girlfriend. You know what?
That's awesome.
Oh man. Oh man. Well, first person to go to Jim.com and get any product, I will be sending you a Pro Jim of my favorite flavor, Rocky Road, because those little marshmallows, when I was on my bodybuilding journey, were the best thing to ever have because I could tell my coach it's protein powder, it fits my
Right.
macros, and honestly, the best tasting protein powder. I rank it at my number one, ladies and gentlemen. Chocolate mousse is my second favorite. I mean, and the vanilla, Tahitian vanilla. I don't know how you picked Tahitian vanilla, but it was a beautiful sweet and
Yeah,
so.
it was a gelato flavor that I loved. And
Oh,
so I took it to my flavor scientist and said, "This is what I want our vanilla to taste like." Vanilla, it's in the name, right? It's vanilla, right? Most vanillas are just that.
yeah.
They're, fine. I wanted to make sure we had a vanilla that literally blew people's mind, and I'm pretty sure that we did that. That's why we went with the Tahitian vanilla bean. So thanks for noticing that.
I did. It tasted different, and if there's one thing you could do, please bring back the OG gingerbread cookie Pro Jim for those who know Jim supplements.
Yeah, do you remember that one?
A throwback. I'm not gonna lie, I still have it in my supplement drawer. It is expired, but just the nostalgia, I
Right.
guess, getting
Memories.
the memories of old legendary flavors. Now, Dr. Jim, thank you so much, guys. All of Dr. Jim's links will be in the bio, including his Instagram, where you guys can constantly see updates on supplements, updates on workouts, and updates on Dr. Jim himself. I mean, who does not want to constantly see Dr. Jim on their feed? I was gonna say I do. I want to see that. So all of his links will be in there. Dr. Jim, one more time, thank you, sir, for taking your time and Underdog Talk. I don't know if you saw me just nodding my head because it started to all make sense on everything, and it only took a doctor in sports nutrition to explain that to me. Um, so, Dr. Jim, thank you, sir. Have a blessed day, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Until next time, Dr. Jim and the Underdog out.
Thank you, Teddy, and thanks everyone for watching.